What's up, everybody? Big Herc 916, getting down fresh out. Hit that like, subscribe. You know how we do it. Represent. I got a special guest today. We're going to get into his story, which is wild. One of the craziest stories we've had on here thus far. The homie Dago Mark. Man, get your popcorn, sit down, chill. We're going to get into it. Dago, man, glad to have you on the channel.
Thank you.
Man, your story's wild. Hitting the prosecutor, big weed. They had with zero evidence. I mean, dude, let's get into it. Tell us about your story that led up to you catching your case, man.
Well, I was minding my own business, right? I was, I was developing a lot of homes in Scottsdale, and they said all the money was from, trafficking weed and only weed, and so I had retired like a year and a half after that happened, was when I encountered this case. I was, they didn't even know where I lived. And what happened was when we were in the business, I was, their driver for the cartels, this guy named Rene Oliveras, fucking rat. So he fucking was bringing the loads up, and how it all started was I did some cursory checks on people like I do, and I had found out that he had been stopped with 100 pounds of weed and didn't tell anybody. And so, right there, I was like, fuck, what's up with this dude? So I called him on it, and I was like, hey, man, what about that? He goes, oh, man, it was nothing. It was a sample, because they were bringing me like a ton at a time, chronic from, they had the tunnel under the border, the Agua Prieta tunnel. And, I was allegedly working with these big cartels in Mexico that they say I know, but I don't admit to none of that. But anyway, he picks up some heat, and, we'd made a lot of money to that point. I was moving 18-wheelers of weed to New York, with false walls, and I was cashing out $400,000 in 30 minutes every truck. It was a good business. And what I was doing was I was investing all, and the reason I'll talk about it is because it's public knowledge, but I'm investing all my money in weed, in real estate. And, so I was developing homes. I love doing that, like getting a house, it's like not quite done, and then throwing a tent. Like I was buying houses for like a $700,000 house unfinished, and I'd just launder like 300 grand in it, baddest fucking landscaping, tennis court, big ass pools, I mean, like I would, and it's all cash, so it's a laundromat kind of for me. But anyway, so I decided to retire because I know this guy's picked up some heat. And I tell him respectfully, man, like, I'm good, I'm done. And I let the people up the line know, hey, I'm fine. I tell my whole crew, look, man, I had millions at that time. I'm like, look, I'm good, man. I'm not gonna look back. I had a kitty vac litter box I'd invented with my wife. Her ex-boyfriend actually invented it, but I took it to market with her. And so I was set, man. I was gonna ride off in the sunset. So anyway, this Rene Oliveras guy had been renting one of our houses. He didn't rent it. He said he was going to buy it, and I ran this through my lawyer. My lawyer, Sheldon Sherman, who's dead, that's why I'll talk about him, was laundering all the money. He was putting my shit in like a lawyer-client trust, this and that. And we're talking millions, So we had co-owned a house in Arizona, and I told him, hey, man, I'm going to let this guy, against my better judgment, I'm going to sell it to this guy, because he said, the driver for the cartels, because he said that he was going to put it in his sister's name, who was legal. She has a different last name. Well, that house, he goes in there, and I said, well, until you change that title, you don't at all do anything illegal in that house, because I had built a gnarly safe room in there, and like, it was built for smuggling. He used to deliver loads there. So the DEA ends up hitting that house with him in it. And they blow it up, and they don't catch him with anything, but they find like burned up Castali's weed wrappers in the fireplace, and they found some ledgers that this idiot had, right? And so next thing you know, the DEA is calling my lawyer, Sheldon Sherman, who's been laundering all my millions, and they say, hey, we hit this house. How do you know this guy, Rene Oliveras? And that's where it started. And it was like, he's like, well, he's a renter. So he freaks out, and I go, fuck it, man, I'm going to go fix the house. Fuck it, dude's out of there, man. He goes, God damn it, Mark, sell the house, Jew. So I'm like, yeah, tell me about it. So I go there, clean up the thing, but now there's a link between us, and now I'm on the radar, and I wasn't on the radar. So like months later, like 6 months later, and I'd already retired. When I sold him that house, I was done. I'd already found out that he had some issues he wasn't telling me about. And I said, yeah, man, if you want to, retire in the sunset, fix that case. He was going to get like nothing for the 100 pounds. I said, just live your life happily ever after. He's my friend, I'm thinking. I'm going to be cool. So 6 months later, I'm driving down Shea Boulevard in Scottsdale, and I see him at a light, and I'm mad at this fucking dude. I'm like, damn, dude, I told you not to do nothing in that fucking house. Well, the damages of the house were like upwards of $40,000. They dug all the fucking appliances out. I just remodeled that whole house. They go in hard. And I fucking, I saw the guy on the side of the road, and he's driving. He goes, hey, pull over. And I'm like, what's up, man? He goes, I don't know. This dude's still working big. And I'm like, what's up, man? He goes, man, I'm working again, And I'm like, yeah, I'm good, man. I'm retired. I told you. He goes, man. I go, but what you do owe is you owe me $40,000 for that house, man. I go, 40 grand ain't nothing between friends, dude. But I said, you violated my trust and you went and fucking used the house. I know you were working. That's why you had to eat. And I told you not to. So give me the money. Pfft, my stupid ass. So he goes, man, this is where I live. So he showed me where he lived. That house is full of weed at the time, and he's under surveillance. And I don't know it. So I said, yeah, that's cool, man. I'll meet you at the McDonald's tomorrow. Pay me my money. McDonald's on Shea. So I'm driving a brand new 500 SEC. I mean, a 500S Benz, two-door coupe. And I fucking go rolling down the McDonald's to meet this guy. And there's all kinds of narcs. I'm wondering why he's not there. And I roll inside, and there's like dudes in vests, DEA.
Damn.
You can tell they just took someone down. I'm like, whoa, fuck, check this out. So when I left the house, I told my girl I was just going to buy some breakfast. So I went in and bought some shit. Look, I'm like, fuck. And I walk out. He's not there. I'm out of here. So I fucking pull on to Shea, and I start flying. I want to see it. Sure enough, I got a tail. I'm hitting it to 70, 80. All the fucking cops. Now remember this. I've never had an encounter with these people, man. I've never been caught with nothing, So they pull me over in my car, guns drawn, the whole deal, car spotless. They take me down to the DEA has like a substation in Scottsdale, and they sweat me. They stick me in a tank. They want me to talk to them. Oh, Renee's told us all about you. And I go, really? I said, whatever, man. I don't even know who that is. Well, yeah, you do. Wow. So we sit it out. So I sweat them out, and I sit in a cell for 12 hours. And they let me out. And I go, well, where are the keys to my car? They go, we're keeping the car. A drug dog alerted on it.
Oh,
look, dude, that car was spotless. I was actually going to sell it, so I had it all detailed out. There was nothing in there but the registration, but it wasn't in my name. So they keep the car. And I know, man, when they pulled me over that day, after I left that restaurant, I'm literally a block away from my mansion on 124th and Shea. This place is sick, dude. Electric gates, 2 acres, swimming pool, right up the street from what's the guy from the Phoenix Suns, man? I mean, from what's his name from ASU? Fucking big basketball dude, super cool. He's got his whole family living there. It's a nice area, right? So anyway, they pull me over and they try and sweat me, and they're like, yeah, what's up? Why? Renee's told us all about you. And I said, man, what are you talking about? And they said, well, what are you doing here? And I'm like, right then I know. You don't even know where I live. What do you mean, what am I doing here? I'm just here driving around, staying with a friend, man. What's up? And they're like, oh, yeah. So I know when they release me, they just get nowhere with me. And so I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. Do what you got to do. Let me call my lawyer. Well, yeah, we'll do that later. So after 12 hours in a cell, I come out. They don't give me my car. And they let me out front, and there's a payphone, and I know they're gonna try and follow me home, right? So I act like I'm making a call, and I just hang up, and I just get it. Man, I'm fucking running through the fucking houses, and that's kind of like a track home.
Yeah.
Game. Man, I'm hitting fences like a track star. I used to be really fast when I was young. I'm 60 now. So I'm fucking running through all these, I lose them. They're fucking trying to find me, So I get away, and I call my wife. I said, come pick me up. I'm gonna pay for them. Come pick me up. Going to a hotel tonight. She's crying like, I thought you were dead. I've been calling all the hospitals. I go, nah, man, let's go. And I'm living in a house, that's, you know, I got a lot of shit in there, you know, like I got tons of money in there, guns, you know, like I'm retired, bro, I'm living good. So fucking she picks me up, and so this was on a Friday that they pulled me over. So on Monday I said, when I left the police station, I said, I'm coming back with my lawyer to get that fucking car. Well, you got to prove from the owner, a friend of mine had it in his name, and he goes, you got to prove that you have permission to drive it, and we'll give it back. So that next Monday when I show up, my rat lawyer, Sheldon Sherman, goes in the back and talks to these fools forever about I don't know what, and then he comes out and he fucking, you know, we're not getting a car, you know, and I'm like, what? Fuck that car, you could buy another one. So I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. I leave with him, and he drives me out of there, and I go, what's up? He goes, man, they're on you. You need to fucking shake the heat, man. That fucking car is linked to me. That fucking house is linked to me. I go, hey, calm down, stud. You know what the fuck you're doing, man. You know what this is about. You know, we're fucking gangsters. You're involved in this shit. Tighten up, man. Man up. I got it. So about a year goes by, maybe less, and I'm in California, and fucking I go down to my P.O. box because I'm developing this kitty vac thing. Once that happened, I got the hell out of Arizona. You know, I'm in California, and I'm just going to the mailbox, and I get a call on the freeway, and someone says, hey, you got a package down here. I said, all right, I'll be there tomorrow. So when I go to the mailbox the next day, they've been posted up all night waiting for me. They snatch me, and that's when this lady put a $1.8 million bond. They take me to San Diego County Jail. And when I see the you know, the green slip, and I'm like, 170,000, I'm thinking, oh yeah, fuck, no problem, let me make a phone call, you know. So they tell me on the little speaker in the cell, I go, well, is this bond right, 170? They go, yeah, 170. I go, all right. The guy goes, man, there's a lot of zeros behind that. And he goes, but it's got to be 170. It's a weed case. It's for conspiracy to distribute marijuana, blah, blah, blah. That's the indictment. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. Next thing you know, I get a phone call. They come back on the speaker, Brandon. They go, what? They go, that's $1,770,000 bond. I'm like, what? For a dry weed case. That's how my case started with this bitch prosecutor in Arizona, Billy Rosen. And right off the rip, that's how they're playing. So fuck, I'm not posting that, you know. Well, kind of did later, but so I tell my lawyer, I says, hey man, Sheldon Sherman, my lawyer, who I've known for 10 years. I say, you come and argue this bond for me, man, get that shit down, man. Get it down to like 800 or something. So he goes into court in San Diego before I'm extradited, and he starts arguing my bond, man. And the judge just looks at him, he goes, you done? And he goes, yeah. He goes, can you step to the side, Mr. Sherman? And they go, open up indictment, CR, blah, 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 and they arrest my fucking lawyer in court. Right on the spot for laundering the Brannon organization's money. Yeah, you can't script this shit, it's so gnarly. So now they got my lawyer, but of course he ORs out, you know, they let him out on his own recognizance. Yeah. So they extradite me to Arizona, and I got to go through the bond hearing and the whole process. So I'm going in there, and we finally get in front of a pretty good judge, man. He cuts the bond in half, like 800. And I get down and put the houses up, post that shit. I'm ready to post it. Bam, they hold a Nebula hearing. They want to know where all the money's coming from. It's a special thing they do, you know. And I'm like, fuck. So everybody that I had 2 people put their homes up for me, and then I was going to pay 10% on it, you know, just, you know, that's how you get out. They went and sweated them, went to their houses. Paul Dillette, you know, big-ass bodybuilder dude.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, lost his whole career behind that. Now they go get him and, you know, threaten him, and, you know, so he backs off, but it's too late, you know what I mean? Like, when they pulled me over that day, they found paperwork in my car for a storage garage when they arrested me that day at the post office. And they found one of my storage garages, and sitting in there is a S500, brand new, limited, they just changed the body style, was celebrity only list. Paul couldn't afford it, so I came in, wrote a corporate check for $100,000 for the thing. And through my lawyer, that's how I was rolling. Like, I had, you know, I could do that. And I didn't take it out of his name fast enough. So when they found that thing in the garage, and he went to help me with his house, he was my friend, man. Paul's cool, you know. And they immediately indict him for money laundering just for having the car in his name. But they don't do that. They wait till he's at the back, defending his title, for like the Mr. Olympia. I think it was at Mandalay Bay, and they arrest his ass backstage and ruin his life. And that's the way this whole thing was. I mean, it just right there, the shots were fired. So when I'm arguing my bond, not to get ADD on you, the judge holds a nebula hearing. This bitch prosecutor's like pushing hard, and they clear it because I had it done a different way, and it's cleared, so I get out. Now I'm out, and I've hired the biggest lawyers in Arizona. Larry Debus, you have the right to remain silent, did the Miranda case, and Tom Tinnis. I didn't just hire one of them, I hired both the best ones. I spent $100 grand, and Larry Debus, that lying motherfucker, said, Robert Owens is my PI, give him $50,000, he'll fix anything. And this is the dirty ass PI that ended up fucking me working with the cops. I mean, I have all the articles.
How can a PI?
Right here,
I mean,
full.
isn't that I mean, so literally, you're hiring somebody
Under the lawyer-client privilege. He is. He's put on with my law team. He has an office in their offices.
Is that legal?
Fuck no, it's lawyer-client privilege.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a
How the hell is
violation of. So he's been doing it for years. He's
wow, so he's just a cold piece of shit.
Man, I got all the articles right here, man. New Times did a 5-part series. This rat motherfucker, he's been setting up his clients forever. Lord of the Lies, right there. And there's me and my wife. There's Tom Tinnis, one of the lawyers, and there's Robert Owens, that piece of shit, who's been setting up his clients for years, like working, filming them, filming their conversations.
And you're thinking you're getting help, but this dude's actually building a case on you.
Man, what was crazy is at first he wasn't. I mean, fuck, man, at first he was like telling me where everybody's at, where my rats are at, because I want to know. And he's telling me a lot of shit, like where the prosecutor lives and things like that. But he's also letting me know straight up, like, I will bug the jury room and I will fucking know the verdict before you get, so and he had that kind of push, man. This guy was one of the most crooked movers in Arizona. And I'm a gangster. I'm like, here's 10 grand, hell yeah. Because I'm fixing to go to state trial on this shit, you know. But while I'm out on bond, I was out for like over a year on this bond, shit just got really dirty, man. Like the prosecutor started threatening my family, called my parents' house. Oh, we're gonna come shake your house down, made my mother faint on the phone. And then my birth certificate of my son, he was born in Cabo, rest in peace, Tyler. He was born in Cabo. And they took, when they raided that storage garage and found the car, they took all my legal files that were in a chest of drawers. And I called the DEA and I said, look, I just got my son in first grade and I can't prove who he is. He was born in Mexico, he's a dual citizen. I can't prove who he is. Can you please give me those papers back? We can find him. I go, man, you know right where the fuck they're at. They're right in that fucking thing that you took. You took my car. There wasn't shit in there. There was my car, a bulletproof vest, and a fucking whole chest with all my legal papers. I said, please, man, I just had to pull my kid out of school. Can we just fight between the men? Can we just leave the women and children out of this, And they're like, never responded, And so I had to go, man, it cost me so much fucking money to fly his mother down to Cabo. It's like 20 grand, and to get paperwork done without being there, it's like impossible. But I know guys, so I paid it off. I mean, that's how this thing started. And then it was just, the prosecutor pushing, like, you're gonna snitch on the cartels or do life. And I'm like, bitch, I'm not talking about anybody. First of all, you didn't catch me doing nothing. I'm flanked by my lawyers, and it's getting ugly in the hallways. Like, I don't know who the fuck you're talking to, man, but yeah, there ain't no snitching going on here. And get ready for a trial, Well, she instantly throws my bond back in the computer while I'm driving down I-10, and I get pulled over. I don't get pulled over. A friend of mine, I'm following him to Arizona. This construction guy was working on one of my houses, and he's drunk. So when they pull him over, I whip on the freeway, go back and get behind him. I tell the highway patrol, excuse me, officer, may I approach? That's my friend. I see he's got the bottles on the hood, and he's got a lot of guns in that car too. And this is way before the shooting, just so you know. So anyway, I roll up and I'm like, hey, can we at least get his truck off the road? And he goes, yeah, he was being real cool. Well, can I see your and your wife's ID? Well, we weren't married at the time. And just to make sure you don't have any wants and warrants. I go, yeah, no problem. Next thing you know, he's looking at my ID and he's like getting my wife to the side and he fucking draws down, hey, get on your knees, man, fuck. And I go, whoa, 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 what's up, stud? And I'm like, I turn around, I got my hands on my head and I catch my knees and he's like, you got a $1.8 million bond on you. And I'm like, I paid it. He goes, yeah, right. Like he don't believe it, obviously, because the bitch put it back in the computer. So they take me to some county jail out there, some tweaker spot, I forget, by the lake out there, and they figure it out and they release me. Oh, accidental, oops.
Oh, wow.
Like it ain't no accident, and so they're just pressing hard, man. And I'm out on bond for a while now, and they're still like, no plea bargain, nothing. Billy Rosen is notorious, dude. She's called Billy the Bulldog Rosen, this little Jew cunt. And she's like, not a slander, I have Jewish friends. I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, so she just ain't she's pushing, man. And I'm trying to get her changed out on my case. And, lawyers are like, no, she ain't leaving. And they've done now, they're fucking, they've hit my lawyer. They're like, they're going to get to this. And now my lawyer's my co-defendant. She's got one of the biggest lawyers from Tucson on his case, and we're going to our court dates. And we're like, yeah, they don't have none of this fight, but there's money laundering and there's trails of money and there's like millions and millions of dollars like rolling around, so they want it. And my lawyers are telling me, he's going to rat, your lawyer's going to fold. And I'm like, man, he knows better. And so I'm living at that point, I'm renting a place in kind of Rancho Santa Fe. It's like, it is Rancho Santa Fe. And he's living right behind me at Rancho Penasquitos. And it's like 2 months before trial, and my lawyers call, they go, Sheldon just flipped. I go, you fucking serious? Is that right? He flipped, huh? And I just couldn't believe it, And, like someone I have known him forever, man. They tell me he flipped. But you got to understand now, at that point, I've already been accused of hitting the prosecutor. I got her off the case, allegedly, because some people showed up to her house and aired the fucking place out. And apparently, they said I sent them. That's all I'll say about it. She had a computer where she sat at every night working on, and because I saw the pictures and the shade was pulled down to here, and her brother's like this skinny little twerp, and she's a real butch-looking woman, and I, from what I saw in these articles, you saw the bullets blazing through her house. I guess her brother said, hey, let me use the computer, and jumped on the computer right when the shots started coming out. They saw him, I guess, and so they're saying the shooters, blasted him. And he's like on the floor, like bleeding out. She's right there, And she's like, oh my God, I think the computer blew up. And it's like, why? And then the 911 calls, she finally realizes her brother's been shot, And so, a month later now, I'm being told my attorney's flipping on me, And so I'm like, fuck, this whole thing's falling down, It's like, this thing's getting ugly, So, and now my PI's still working with me.
Have he flipped already too?
No, he hasn't. I don't know. He's still working with the cops. And I call him on the phone. And I said, I'm finding out everything about the shooting at the prosecutor's house because the silencer came off. He's confirming there's no DNA, there's no prints. He's telling me all these things. He's being very helpful. But when I find out that my attorney's flipped, that's a whole new ball of wax, and he's still got like $500,000 of my money he's not giving me. He keeps dragging me on. So right before, shortly before trial, they catch some guys at his house, ski masks, ropes, guns, and allegedly I sent them, which it was a murder for hire, which I got acquitted on, ironically, at trial, but because the jury hated him so much. They snatched these shooters up at the house, and so when my PI was sent out to investigate it and to assure these people that everything was cool, he flipped and he started telling the cops these are the same guys that did the hit on the prosecutor, blah, 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 this and that. So this guy, you know, he figured it all out. Obviously, I never told him, but I just told him, look, these guys need to be reassured they're cool, you know, because at that point, they're only grabbed for like burglary.
Yeah.
You know, they're like in a nice neighborhood watch calls. And that's where it all unfolded on me. You know, he goes there, and now the cops are going in to visit these guys because the PI's telling them. Now the PI's scared. Like, you know, come on, bitch. You know, I mean, I'll say it right in the open. I mean, he can't be prosecuted for this. You know, I mean, that bitch showed me where the prosecutor lived. You know, he was crooked, and they know it. But see, the thing is Arizona, they can't talk about him because they've been letting this dude set up their clients for years doing illegal shit. That's why all these articles. I mean, there's a 5-part series, newtimes.com. Lord of the Lies is the one I was in, and read the rest of them. It's a 5-part series. They've been using this guy to set people up for years.
So doesn't that...
None of that helped me in trial, by the way.
But does any of those cases now, because of this guy's being like a violation, is that like a retrial for any of the cases he was involved with where he was actually working police? Isn't that a violation of...
It's a lawyer-client privilege violation. Like Dick Van Arman in these articles says every case where Owens was involved absolutely becomes suspect. Van Arman continues, while they look for a scapegoat to cover up their own corruption, the state of Arizona, they've given a serial predator season tickets to life. Bob Owens had a 20-year sentence back in the day, and he went to the state of Arizona he was a paramedic, stealing from the dying elderly in the back, like the most low-life crime, ripping off grandma's rings and while they're dying or sedated, and he's in the back of the ambulance doing that. So they give him a 20-year sentence. Check this out.
This is the private eye investigator.
He gets a 20-year sentence. In 4 years, a judge squashes his sentence, expunges it, because he's been in there telling on people so hard.
Damn.
Still working for the government.
Yeah.
He's been in there ratting so hard that they expunge his sentence and let him out because he's setting people up in prison.
Wow.
A judge and expunges his record. So what does he do? He becomes a PI. He
Wow.
reinvents. It's all in the articles. He reinvents
that dude
himself.
went right back into a game where he could just...
No, he reinvents himself as a player in the legal system instead of a defendant. Now he's not just a PI. He's sharing the office with Tom Tinnis and Edifice Lex, the biggest attorney in Arizona next to Larry Debus. And I've hired both of them. And he's in there. He's setting me up and everybody else up that's working for him. He's giving information to the defense team. Now look, when they grabbed them dudes at my lawyer's house, and now he's telling them those are the same guys that hit the prosecutor. Fuck yeah, they come at me hard, dude. I'm out on bond, man. They roll up, and they don't just roll up. These cowards fucking wait. That day, my mother's visiting. That whole week, she was visiting, see her grandson. And during that time, I'm going to the beach by myself in my surf trunks. And I'm taking my son surfing a lot too. And I'm traveling. But the point is, I've left the house repeatedly by myself. They don't take me down that way. They wait. So I'm in my mother's minivan. I'm driving her back to Vegas to meet Paul and my other friend. And we're going to go party with some Miss Fitness chicks, right? Pageant was going on. You know, Paul had the lock on that. So they wait, and I got my mother in her van. I'm driving, and all of a sudden, a highway patrol gets behind us, hits the flashers on Via de la Valle. And the guy's like, pull over into the gas station. I think there's a mobile there. And I roll in there, and it's 20 cars, 20 cops, 7 cars, just guns, the whole thing. My
mom in the car.
Mom in the car. And I got my hands out the window, and I'm like, Mom, get your head up. They're yelling at her. They're looking at me. Mom, get the fucking guns off my mother. Mom, look at me. And she, poor lady, she's just looking at me scared, I said, Mom, please, baby, put your hands out the window. These people will shoot you. And she finally did. I mean, it was the most fucked up way to take me down. But, now I'm accused, of hitting the prosecutor and trying to murder my lawyer too, and allegedly, and so they're coming hard, but man, you could have done it without my mom there, so I get it, they're mad. I'm not gonna fucking cry about it because you know, I don't know how many cases you see of a prosecutor getting hit at, you know, shot, even though she didn't get the bullet, she was right next to it when it was happening at her house, you know. I mean, there's not a lot of people that do that. And so, yeah, they came hard, man. And then that's where everything just unraveled. You know, I went into custody, you know, every week I'm hearing, oh, fuck, they got this house. Oh, fuck, they got that house. Oh, shit. I'm losing millions of dollars, dude, like in there. And then I find out that my PI was a working informant, and I know I'm done. I know I'm done. He knows everything. Yep.
At that point, was going to trial still an option?
There was no plea for me. Fuck. They said, yeah, you don't have no plea. I said, well, fuck you, let's go to trial. So long story short, I go to trial, because I'm going to put this all out of my podcast, but I go on into trial, and I save everybody. All my crew got away, like nobody got arrested. I shut my mouth. I took 60 years. There's people testifying against me I'd never even seen in my life.
Damn.
Swearing that I was in houses full of weed. Richard Disney, you lying cocksucker, you were one of them. People I'd met like maybe at a family gathering on the other side of my wife's side of the family. Maybe a handshake. I don't know this guy, you know, he's fucking, you know. But, you know, that's the way it goes. But it was funny because when my lawyer, you know, now the judge is letting him testify against me. Under the crime fraud exception. They're letting my own attorney who was representing me testify against me. And the details of this are just gnarly, you know, like the judge has to admonish him, you're under the privilege, you can't say that, you can't say this.
Wow.
But they threatened Bruce Cutler, John Gotti's lawyer, with that, and got him off his second case after Gotti had fixed the jury, and, you know, and then he went back for retrial. The government threatened him with that exact, you know.
So that he couldn't have that representation.
Yeah, and he knows he's fucked because he's been in the Raveniti Social Club above that while they're talking business. Exactly. And they got it on tape. And so when he's in the room, he has knowledge of the crimes. Well, my lawyer gets up to testify. He does, man. He fucking sits up there and just tells them all kinds of shit. And I'll never forget, they go, in your opinion, Mr. Sherman, like, what does Mr. Brannon do for a living? And I had a lot of legal businesses developing companies. He's a drug dealer. You know, this fucking piece of shit. And so he testifies against me for a whole day. And you know what? When it came time for my convictions, the jury acquitted me of murder for hire on him to send a message like, you're a piece of shit. And I beat that charge. And if one looked at the evidence, I'd probably be guilty, you know? I mean, these shooters are coming to court saying I sent them there.
Damn, so everybody's telling.
Everybody's telling on me. The driver for the cartels, that dude got caught with 1 metric ton of cocaine, Rene Oliveras, and got 5 years. Got to do it over there in Stafford Rat Yard. And he got 5 years. He got caught with a ton of coke because once the shooting came up on the prosecutor, like, everybody was getting deals. Like, they fuck just talk about him. And it's funny, I read a lot of the interviews they did with these people. They're like, man, I'm not talking about that dude. That dude's a nut, you know, like, I don't know, man. Like, I guess one could say, you know, it just got to the point where I just snapped, you know, and I'm not even really like that, you know. It was just, I'm really protective of my family, you know, and I thought that the whole game was like, give me a plea, man. Like, I watched guys getting 8-year pleas. My wife at the time, man, I married her a month before I went to trial. She's like, I'll stay with you. It's just 10 years. I go, there's no reason I can't get 10 years. You didn't catch me with nothing. Nothing, man. But that's a whole story I'll elaborate on later. But, you know.
That's why I say the game, man, when you start talking like you said, I mean,
you can see my body language. I get fucking stressed out over it because I can't believe it happened like that.
You had all these people you took care of, man, and you know, you're thinking there's like these relationships that you have established over years and years,
yeah.
And then you come to find out that these people are all, you know, when it comes down and hits the fan, this is what happens. And dude, what recourse do you have? I mean, what happened with the private eye? I mean, did he get any time? What was his whole?
Nah, man, like I say in the article, you know, like I try to fish him out, you know, because my attorneys are visiting me and they're like, hey, Paul Rubin wants to interview you from New Times because he's doing a huge piece on this this PI and how he's setting everybody up. And he's like, man, and so I interview, you know, and at the end of the article I say, yeah, man, I say, you know, Bob Owens, I said, he's Arizona's dirty little secret. I said, man, this dude's been setting people up forever. And I said, but they don't even want to talk about him. Like I said, they want to talk to me about Bob Owens, and I ain't no rat. I said, I'll tell him what he did to me. He fucking, you know, he took so much money and just like worked for the government while he's representing me. I have canceled checks. I have him debriefing on paper. Debriefing. And then a week, 2 weeks later, I got a family check coming for $5,000 to him. He's still getting paid. And he's showing up in court. Like, you can't do that and then do this. But look, this interview is only, I'm letting you know how gnarly my fucking case was, dude. It was like the DEA was moving their families. Like, it was like a whole big deal, you know. And when I went into trial, you know, I'm getting my fucking head chopped off, you know. I mean, my crew, I've done paid them, given them a bunch of cash. I got them all in Mexico. My drivers, the kid that was working my stash houses, I said, get out of the country. Right when I got indicted, I said, you guys are on the indictment. You just ain't been grabbed.
So how much time did the lawyer get who told?
Who, the PI?
No, the other Sheldon guy.
Oh, Sheldon, he didn't get no time. He got probation. That dude got probation and was let out.
$500,000.
And of course, more than that. Here was another property he didn't disclose to them that I just cashed out for like $500,000. He got out and he only had to do 2 years. Later, he was able to get a license back to be a lawyer again.
God.
After testifying.
Oh my God, dude, you're not a lawyer. You're going back to work after you just testified against the client?
You've never seen a case like mine. Like,
God.
dude, I've been in prison all these years, and I'll tell people about it, and they're like, what? And I'll just lay it out. Boom, there it is right there.
How can you even have an attorney if this is, I mean, what does that even represent?
So when I'm in custody and I find out that Robert Owens has been working for the cops, you know how I find out? My lawyers, Larry Debus and Tom Tinnis, I'm calling them all the time because remember, I'm indicted on a state case, but now the feds have grabbed me while I'm out on that bond for the shooting. They hit me with all the charges, marijuana plus the shooting of the prosecutor, plus the attempted murder of the lawyer. And so now they're like, he's doing too much, you know, and they just like, you know, grab me off the streets. And so now I'm in custody. But when I'm in custody, I called my lawyer one day. I called Tom Tinnis and I go, hey, Tom, I need you to do this and that. He's like, well, I can't talk to you anymore. I go, we're not on your case. I go, what? I go, I paid you $200,000. What do you mean you're not on my case? He goes, I can't really explain it to you, man. We've been removed from. I said, you've been removed from my case? Who the fuck does that? I wasn't at that hearing. Dude, there's shit in my case you've never seen. What happened was this crooked-ass Judge O'Toole, the state judge that gives pedophiles a year and gives a fucking real man that's selling weed 10, like he's just a piece of shit. He has a hearing, and in that hearing, he takes all my lawyers and they seal it. And they state it on the record for the reasons within, and it's sealed. That's all I see is that my lawyers have been removed for what was discussed on the record, and now that record is sealed. So I'm not even invited to the hearing.
Damn.
Like, you've never, like, I'm saying, like, I don't need to embellish this movie, this book I'm writing, this script that just writes itself, because, I mean, it's just, you've never seen him do anything like this. And I went in with appeals lawyers to unseal, motions to unseal, and I have them. And my lawyer standing in court, Roger Hansen, arguing to unseal these transcripts, because if we see what's in there, I'm gonna fucking beat the case. Like, my shit gets thrown out. You've been using a guy in my law team.
Wow.
Like that's what I went through. And like when I really, like, the book I'm writing is just like, it's cool, man. Because, man, look, I was working with the Arianos. Like, I was with Wedo Palma, Ramon, and another one of the lieutenants who's my good friend. I'll call him Manuel. We were in a warehouse in TJ. I'm looking at loads. Like, and 3 days later, they hit the Cardinal in Guadalajara. And I'm like literally with these men. And I own properties in Cabo at that time, I always have. And now when I'm going down to see my property a week later, like, I'm like, there's their pictures, all these dudes in the airport. And my girl knows, she's been with me partying at Baby Rock and all these. And she's like, isn't that? And I'm like, yeah, fuck, put your hand down, girl. No, we don't know them. I'm sneaking into Cabo. like real cool. I'm driving the fuck down there to clean up some business because I'm getting out of the country. Because anybody, if you see Narcos on Netflix, like they're torturing the fuck out of people at that time they're trying to find Ben Hameen, and they're doing anything to get and Ramon, and they're doing anything to get these dudes after that hit because everybody scattered and started hiding, So I just got out of the country at that time and let it settle down, but that was when my time with them was done. But as my life went on, I mean, yeah, man. I mean, I've been to Rafa's house in Culiacan. That's the man right there, Quintero. I love that dude. They just extradited him for hitting Camarena, but yeah, that's a real.
I've seen that.
Yeah, that's a real ass dude. And then they grow some good ass weed, and that's why I made all that money with that tunnel, was because the weed, all the statutes have run out. I could talk about whatever, and my paperwork's out there. You know what I mean? I saved my whole fucking crew. Everybody got away because I went to trial. You know how many dudes would flip that had a life like mine? It's like, you don't have anything on me. That just talk, just make a phone call. I could have made one phone call and got any amount of drugs brought up, any amount. My co-defendant got caught with 2,000 pounds of coke.
So when you mentioned, we were talking earlier, and how these cartels, like people see all these guys and they're like watching Narcos, but they don't see like behind closed doors, almost like the Ozarks, how one guy to get off, they'll tell on it because the rival cartel say they don't care. I mean, there's all that stuff. I mean,
look, I actually was able to talk to my friend who he fucking got away, man. They had him. He was my partner, man, and they had him, and they were trying to get him to snitch me out, and the DEA officers had him in his house in Newport. This is a crazy story, man. And one of them was on the couch, and the other one went to use the bathroom, and the whole house sealed up, and they have him trying to set me up. But he ain't setting me up. He's calling my old pager. Anyway, this dude escapes out the chimney when one falls asleep, runs down the beach. Like, the shit on my book.
Go through the chimney?
Dude, he got out of the house, rolled down the beach. Next thing you know, now he's calling my real pager, blowing me up, 911, 888. First, he's like, he's out of breath. He's like, my friend. Plus, I got like 800 grand of his money. My friend, they want you so bad. Hey, this is what happened. I'm like, whoa, what? I'm like, what happened? And fucking sure as shit, man, this dude escaped from these fools, man. Right out of his house. I give him credit. He's found God now. He's like down there. He's got so much real estate. But he told me straight out, I talked to him since I've been out, and he told me straight out, all those dudes. And he started naming them. They're all rats. They all told on each other.
Damn.
How the fuck you think a fucking crime lord like Ben Hameen and them were getting, or I don't know what his sentence was, but like Weddle Palma 20 years. I mean, it's just such a fucking, yeah, man.
People have no idea how it really operates.
Well, I'm trying to use the Ariano's case, in resentencing. I mean, when I got sentenced on resentencing, when I overturned my 924C because of the Lamont Davis case through Johnson, now I've knocked 33 years off. I told you my lawyers arguing look at their cases, and we're using them look, their cases are metric tons of coke, heroin, everything, and here's little old me, I got a weed case. And it was funny, my lawyer said, it's just a marijuana case. And she's like, shh. This is not just a marijuana case. And she just flat out says it. We know he hit the prosecutor's house. We know he was going to kill Sheldon Sherman. We know, hold up, I've been acquitted of that. I want to yell it out. The jury acquitted me of that. But see, what's fucked up about the feds is they can use acquitted, it's called the acquitted conduct doctrine. And they use it as relevant conduct against you. Even though you beat it, they use it. And so she used it to enhance me, so whatever. But I'm free, man. I had a life sentence, man, of 60 years at 38 years old, and I'm free.
Another thing I want to point out is that, they try to clown, because I used the case during my sentencing to knock off a couple years, and she's like, the public pretender I didn't have paid a lawyer like you, but she's like, who are you talking to? Them damn jailhouse lawyers. But what people don't understand, the jailhouse guys are smart as shit. I've seen guys beat life sentences, some smart dudes beat life sentences.
I have a motion right here that my dear friend, Islander, Ethan Malu Mota, my bro, man, I love that dude. He's doing life for some murders and shit over in the Big Island. Allegedly, he's a crime boss over there. But he did my legal work inside after I got sick of paying lawyers. I mean, I spent $550,000 on lawyers, man. Every one of them fucked me. Every one. When they took my lawyers in that closed hearing, I had to hire Peter Clausen, a whole new trial lawyer. another one of the best lawyers. Man, the fuck, I should.
All they do is take money.
Dude, I could have used a public defender, got the same amount of time. And, I mean, dude, my own PI, but they're not letting the PI in this conversation in court about setting me up. They're never bringing it up. They're like, and I'm going to tell my lawyer, dude, what about, he goes, man.
Was he ever called as a witness to say that, dude, you that's a conflict of interest. How could you work for both? Doesn't make you're paid over here.
Well, because he's not indicted at the time, you know, and my lawyer just didn't go down that avenue. He goes, nah, man. He goes, they took your lawyers from you. He goes, that's illegal. He goes, and all that, but they did it in a state venue, and I'm like, well, why don't we pursue this? You know, what's up with the PI? He goes, nah, man, I'm gonna attack this like this and that. Well, when I got sentenced, and he brought it up during some cross-examinations, he's like, you know, he's cross-examining certain witnesses, and at the end, he tells the judge, you know, Your Honor, we know this man, his PI has been working for the government forever. And, you know, and setting people up. And she's like, no. Like, they're acting like, no, he could do it. Because technically, if your PI or anyone in your law team has knowledge that you're a serious threat to the community, which, you know, kind of look like that. I mean, I met all this criteria for that. He's allowed then to go tell the cops, like, hey, this dude's dangerous. But he didn't do that. He tells the fucking cops, like, this whole tale, and tries to set my wife up and tries to do all this crazy shit, saying she's paying for hits and this and that. Like he took it to a whole nother level. Like when he went to them, he spun this whole tale about how, you know, he knows that, you know, Mark's mad, he's gonna kill his lawyers, and that's how they got my lawyers. He's pissed off at Larry. I wasn't mad at Larry. He's debriefing. He got my wife to sit in a room. And he was under surveillance when they did this. He got her to go there. He told her, Mark's in custody. He's going to get hit for this shooting. You need to make this recording. It's all in the articles. It's so elaborate. He goes, you need to make this recording. He handed her a script. So you're protected, so you can say you came to me first. I'm never going to use this unless they try to indict you. And he has her read this fucking fairy tale that I'm going to hit Larry Debus, that, you know, and that, you know, I hired these dudes, you know, to hit Sheldon Sherman, and that I've got guys in Ireland, which I did. They're dead now, but yeah, they had my passports and everything. And so, and he had her read this whole thing, and my wife's like, I don't want to do this. He goes, Mark's in custody. He told me to tell you to do this to protect
Lying.
you. Absolutely. He's setting my wife up. Like, this is a story, and it's all in these articles. Like, this is a story you can't make up. Like, it's what they're doing. Well, he ends up getting indicted later after my trial, but for like fraud and nothing like what happened with me. And to this day, they're like, oh, it's such a mystery how he's linked with this murder for hire plot. And I can't say nothing. I can't. What am I going to say? Tell on him? I'm not. Like, it was a line that I couldn't walk in court. You know, because that fucker was working with me. If we would have raised him tough, it would have been like, okay, well, yeah, you're working with him to whack people. He's finding out where people live. Like, you know what I mean? So we just kind of had to stay out of it. And meanwhile, Arizona's like using this guy in everybody's cases. Like, this dude's, and he's an ex-felon. They expunged his record.
God.
And they let him, like it, and like I say in this interview, like, people have cases, but then mine is like insane. And I mean, I brought the paperwork, man. It's all right here. I mean, and that's nothing. Like, like, it sickens me to even talk about it. You know what I mean? Because of the way it happened, but I'm not crying about it. You know, I was.
Dago, you from the old school, man. You know, you're like a old school, the group before my group that I kind of looked up to.
How old are you, Herb?
I'll be 52 this year.
Yeah, I'm just a little older.
So you're a little bit older, but I mean, I knew guys like this from the old guard. You know what I mean? And so when you see now everything and some of the stuff,
down,
man. Dude, isn't it crazy? Like, the game is done, dude. It's like the guys out there and they're posting on Instagram and they're doing this and it's like, if you're in the game, what are you doing, man? It's like nobody should even see you publicly. Dude, live your life. But if you're doing all this stuff, I don't get it, man.
But we'll see. And now it's like, as you see now, like, look, I'm writing a novel that's insane. My dad's a famous writer, and my novel about my life, it's called Southern Enterprise. And it's funny how I title it, Southern Enterprise. some of the names have been changed to protect the guilty. That's old school.
Yeah.
Like, not to protect the innocent, like they always say, because it's proven. And when I came home, you'd be shocked at how many people didn't appreciate what I did for them. Like I saved everybody. No one can ever say I put anyone down, never. And so many people do that in drug cases.
I just think it's so hard, man, trying to make, like, you're so, you know, you get jaded, and I tell, like my wife, my best friend, and my business partner. I mean, he like know me for, but like meeting new people, like trying to build, and you see like how these guys are, and I'm like, dude, I just look at them like the quality. It's not the same upbringing, like you said. Your dad was military, you know. Very, very
I
decorated.
came from a very rigid family. I mean? Like, so, yeah, man.
I mean, but the people I grew up around, a lot of the OGs were ex-military, either been the Korean War, Vietnam War. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of like just, there are certain things that you carry yourself as a young man in a neighborhood and just handling situations, whether it's like, you know, getting bullied or, you know, doing different things. You guys go work it out as men. But it was a different caliber of guy. And I see now, and that's why I felt it was so important to get your interview on here, so you could share your story from your perspective to kind of shed light, because the game, you know, it's glorified. It's these guys.
No, I mean, I saw Scarface, and it fucked me up when I was young. I moved out. I love my parents, man. I came from the most stable household, you know, like I was the black sheep, you know, like, but I just moved out. I didn't want to be told what to do anymore. I went to a high school in San Diego. It's like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I had surf PE, ceramics where I'm making bongs. I mean, I graduated from a school where I didn't really have to do shit but surf on the team and, you know, and smoke weed. And, you know, I love San Diego High, man. I mean, I was a lifetime surfer. You know, I've surfed in professional events. I mean, I can surf, you know, and that surfing life and that business is saturated with drugs and smuggling back then. I mean, a lot of companies were built with it. And, you know, I'm living right on the border. You know, I'm in Encinitas, you know, and so naturally, you know, I started slinging coke back then, and I picked up a federal case when I was 21. And, you know, but you couldn't get any time. It was before the Sentence Reform Act. You know, I got caught with a quarter kilo and like shitloads of weapons, and I was red-handed living in my fucking condo in La Costa. And, you know, but fuck, I got like 18 months, you know. I mean, back then, before the Sentence Reform Act, you could get caught with 10 keys of coke and get fucking 5 years, 3 years. You know, there was none of the minimum, and people don't understand, man, the minimum mandatory sentencing and all that shit. I mean, yeah, Reagan put that in, you know, in a weekend. One weekend, he told this guy, hey, fix it by Monday. And so they started that, you know, and then Clinton came in with the minimum mandatory sentencing guidelines. I mean, it's been like, that's when the game changed. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man, you get caught with like 300 pounds of weed or whatever, man, I should be able to do like a year or two on that. Give me a slap.
Well, they give a pedophile a year. Probation.
Dude. Fuck, you already know, man.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't do no time.
All I can say is I did some of them fools dirty during my bid, you know what I mean? When it's funny, at the level I was at, like they just give you a nod, like one walks on the yard and they're like, yeah, fuck, this idiot wants to walk, but we're gonna run his paperwork anyway. But yeah, there was countless ones that we hit, you know.
Do you think there's anything like somebody could have told a younger version of you to kind of maybe deter you away from the life of crime, or you think that was like inevitably something you were gonna get involved in based on your lifestyle?
I mean, look, when I got released out of the feds, I did my little time at Boron Federal Prison Camp. It's like a country club. They had a swimming pool. Like nowadays, you know,
that was old school.
That was old school. Back. But there's solid dudes there. Like you don't. No, really, but that's what it was. But you don't see that now. Dudes at the mediums and the low. I mean, the lows and in the camps, like, you know, they're either white collar guys that are harmless or they're rats. You know what I mean? So
I heard stories back in the 50s.
Yeah, but back then it was cool. Like I was locked up with some cool ass Hells Angels and some fucking, you know, bunch of dudes that had wide open cases they were getting 10-year sentences and sent straight to a camp. There ain't no walls there. But anyway, when I got released out of there, and I'm writing about it right now, I'm writing that part of my book right now. I went right back in the game, man. I met all my connections when I was in there. I immediately went right back to work.
Yeah.
And that's some gnarly, those are stories I'm gonna talk about, man.
Yeah.
Like I literally had I'm driving a fucking $150,000 cigarette boat up and down the coast. I got a 930 slant nose Porsche.
Oh, yeah,
I'm out on, I got 2
930.
different houses.
Yeah.
I mean, I never stopped, dude. And like they tried to get me and it failed. They tried to entrap me. Like I got some crazy stories, man. But once I got off parole, it was special parole back then. It was hard, man. Once I got off, like 2 days before I got released, I already split. I went to Port Escondido to surf for my friend Chandler, man. I went down there to surf the pipeline. And I was in the water, and I was like, hey, I just expired, because I thought they were going to fuck with me, and they didn't. They didn't even know I left, you know, because it was just, I was just never stopping. I was flying loads of weed in immediately. I went out and bought a Cessna right when I got released, and I didn't give a fuck. I wanted my money back, you know? Like I had a really crazy mentality. And yeah, looking back on it, I just really can't believe I really acted like that, you know? But because I have talent, you know? I got a great voice. I'm very industrious. I'm business minded. You know, it's not an easy thing to ship like whatever I allegedly did, you know, 10, 15, 20 tons of weed across the United States and never lost a load, not once.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a big business, and to secure the money. Back then, you could shake a hand. I mean, there's a table this big full of cash, and ain't nobody drawing weapons on nobody here, man. Throw it in the bags. It was a handshake deal.
Yeah.
You know, it was a cool business. But once I got indicted, it just, to be fucked with that way. Like, if you would have just said, hey, man, you know, we didn't catch you, but here's an 8-year plea, I'd have signed it, man.
Yeah.
And I'd have given you another $1 million you don't know about.
Yeah.
But it was just never offered to me, you know. And I was, at that time, only a marijuana smuggler. That's it. My whole case is weed. That fucking shit's legal now in 38 states. Yeah. And it's like, but again, I'm not going to cry about what happened. My journey forward is to help people. And I do it for my son. I do it for my parents. Out of honor, man, I'm just gonna help people, man. I wanna help people cope with PTSD. I've never talked to anyone about it. You try having your son murdered, dude, while you're in a box, and have him come down and shack him. Boy, they hit me with black box, double ankles, I fucking thought one of my parents died, you know? And when I went in there and they told me, man, it was like, and I'm surrounded by people, man, like a lot of big cops, and there's some piece of shit, you know, priest there, and I'm fucking shackled. And then when they told me it was my son, you know, it's like, that's why it changed me, man. Like, the guilt you hold, like, if I'd have kept my temper cool and not been in so long, he wouldn't have been where he was that day. Those are the things I think about. It's not about me, man.
Yeah.
It's about, I want to help people in his honor. That's my journey. Like, I've been out now. I was in the halfway house for like 15 months, and now I've been free for like 2 months, man. And I'm lucky. I got a cool PO, man. He's real respectful, and you know, and you know, it's just, I'm just doing my thing, man. And I'm writing my book, and I'm close to getting an agent for my voice. I mean, I have an amazing voice, not to be arrogant, but that's my gift. My brother was a DJ, you know, like our whole brothers. I have 3 brothers, but you know, we got this voice, you know, so I'm gonna put that to work. I want to voice over the whole movie. And you know, what I'm doing, no one's ever done it. Have a film made of them, and then, like, you look at like Goodfellas, and Ray Liotta's playing the rat, Henry Hill. You know, Paulie said, you know, if you don't do this, you're gonna get whacked. But like, whereas when they're doing my story, I'm gonna talk about it. You know, what it was like to grow up in Encinitas when it was beautiful in Southern California. You know, back in the early '80s, late '70s, and how I did come from a really good family, and I just wanted money, and I didn't think I was smart enough. Like, my brothers went to college. My one brother was a pilot. My oldest brother, like, had a company, he took public. He's worth almost $100 million. And it's like, I just never thought I was smart enough to do it, but come to find out I am. I mean, I read 900 books when I was in prison, easy. You know, I did 11 and a half years in the hole. You know, you got to stay busy. You know what I mean?
I know about reading books.
Yeah, brother. And it's like, but in retrospect, I hope I wasn't too drawn out. Like, you know, yeah, I mean, you say, would I have changed it? I mean, up until the time I got arrested, no. I mean, I loved it. It was the life I loved, and I was good at it, and I didn't feel like I was poisoning our country. I was selling weed, man. You know, I mean, yeah, back in the days, I moved a lot of coke too, you know, but I stopped with all that when I saw meth and what it was doing to people, and now they got that poison fentanyl out there, you know, but
The reason I say that is because like I was big into skateboarding and BMXing, and they didn't really have any black guys skateboarding. There was Steve Steadham.
oh yeah,
Steve Steadham was like the only guy for Peralta back then.
yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah. I used to work at the Baines Surf and Skate Factory.
Okay.
I used to cut surf fins out
so
there.
that was like my passion.
In a way, and all that.
There was no money back then. Remember, it was Transworld,
Nah.
Thrasher Magazine,
Yup.
and I used to wear Jimmy Z's, GMS.
Yeah.
I used to do all that stuff, but
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
thinking like, man, if I would have stuck with that and just been a square, and I was into designing stuff, drawing. And,
No, yeah,
you
I had
know,
a
it's
clothing
just like-
company during all that.
I
was
started my first
sponsored.
one in high school too.
Yeah, I was sponsored by Eberly and Rip Curl and all these other, you know, I was getting, you know, the usual, the local surf
Yeah.
shops are giving you stuff. But then when I'm in there, the guys that own this place, they're slinging coke, you know, and I'm like, whoa, and they recruit me, you know, and, you know, next thing you know.
I just watched that story about Stussy. You know, remember
Stussy,
Stussy,
yeah.
and his like, you know, started off, you know, doing the boards, and I'm thinking, man, what if I would have stuck with, you know, just like, but it's like, so I think of a younger version. What could a younger version have directed me this way instead of going this way?
No, I mean, I was like the last callback for, you know, I was young, I was a model, you know, like in my, you know, I did a lot of work, International Mail, like companies like that. And I was like the last callback for fucking Iceman. It was me, Val Kilmer, and one other dude when they shot Top Gun. You know, my agent, Janice Patterson's like, oh, I don't really know how to act. And I didn't really get the part. I mean, Val Kilmer, come to find out, I watched the documentary, is a brilliant actor with a lot of skills, you know, but it was cool, you know, I got caught. But I think at that day in the room when Tom Cruise was there, I think it was because I was so much taller than him. Yeah, he's got a kind of a short, I mean, he's a great actor.
Yeah.
He's got a serious short man complex. But, you know, and then at that point, I think that was where I was like, I was so close to being like my life could have gone a whole different way. And I did do a movie.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
been in a movie, and you know, and I got Taft-Hartley, and I speak all through the movie. And it was done with Ruth Landers was doing it, Audrey and Judy's mother. Remember the two beautiful women, the blonde and the redhead. But like that's if you ask the question, like that's kind of like that. I was about to go that way, and if I would have, and I tell you, when I was 38 years old, I'm out on bond on this case, and I walked in, had an introduction to Larry Hummel from ICM. I've spoke to him since I've been out. He heard my voice, and he's in the back, and he's like, God, you're my 1 o'clock? Oh my God. Jesus, where you been? How old are you? He goes, you could have been retired by now with a voice like that. Yeah, I wish I would have done that instead, you know. And then, so I told him, I said, I'm out on bond. He goes, are you going to win? I go, I hope so. I said, there's no evidence. He goes, well, look, I'm going to put you in school. Like, they paid for all that shit for me. And it was at 38 years old, and I realized, like, that's what I should have done, you know, is just really focused on my voice, and, you know, and then my son would be alive, you know? Like, you got to think like that. Like, where would he have been?
You know, though, I think about...
You know, it was a gang initiation. A guy did that to him. My son was murdered by some punk named Kevin Pham, and he's a Vietnamese kid. Him and 3 of his buddies had jumped on my son's cousin in high school in Vista. And my son rolls around, sees 4 guys beating up his cousin. He naturally jumps in. No weapons, no vicious shit, just beat him up. They left. And when I was in prison, my son was raised at that house by a good family, the Pratt family. His aunts and uncles, they're good people. And when my son turned 18, because when I went in, he was 8. You know what I mean? So when he turned 18, he moved into his own house in Fallbrook. And, you know, he was doing his thing, you know, and had his dogs and his garden. And so he went back for Christmas Eve 4 years later, and that same kid out of that gang, it was one of the kids that was in that fight, had showed up waiting outside the house on Christmas Eve to kill my son's cousin.
Damn.
And when my son walked out, they shot him instead. And you have to reflect on things like that, or you're not a good human being. And I can tell you this, man, like, I'm the kind of guy that, like, I'm so helpful to people. I love helping. I taught people how to read in there. I taught, you know, I have such a good spirit in me. And when I'm home now, it's like, yeah, man, like naturally you think like I'm just gonna fucking split, fuck this. But I have my parents here, and I just wanna. My revenge is my success. Like I'm not gonna pick up a weapon like I used to or go after people and nothing. Like I'm done with it, man.
Yeah.
I'm 60 years old, man. I'm 61, and I just want to live my life, but I want to give back. I so much want to give back to people and show people how I am, and for real, man. Like I was such a really good father. I was a good husband, a good son, and nobody knew what I was doing. Like I'm living in Rancho Santa Fe, and we got the keys to each other's houses, and I mean, nobody has a clue. And then all of a sudden, these fucking damn assault tanks and everything are rolling down to my house, and because I was just a developer, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm building houses. Here's my cards. Here's my rental properties in Cabo. Come on down, But it was all with weed money, So, but no different than the Kennedys. The old man Kennedy made all their money bootlegging alcohol when Prohibition. It's exactly like weed. It's going to be legal, so get it while it's not.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, and that I'm bitter about, because the way the feds schedule weed, like right with coke, like come on, stud. I've done a ton of coke in my life, and that shit's poison. But marijuana, I ain't never seen no one overdose on that yet. And it's better than eating pharmaceutical drugs for your pain. So I rationalized what I did is not a bad thing, and I'll stand on that. But I also have to criticize myself for the way I reacted. I stood up to tyranny, is what I did. And I paid for it.
Well, I think your story, man, it's going to resonate with a lot of our viewers. And people at home can see that you're not glorifying, you're just sharing something that can put their life in a perspective. Because everybody goes through different things. And
right.
I used to always be like, man, why do I have to go through this? Man, I used to sit there and be like, dude, I was good in school. I did all this stuff. And then here I am sitting here in the prison, and I'm stuck. And I can't go home. And I'm like, I could have just stayed in bed that day, and it just doesn't, sometimes I try to rationalize.
Drives you crazy,
yeah,
don't it?
man, it doesn't make sense. And then everybody else is just cool, they're hanging out, dudes are politicking, it's like.
But you know how I rationalized it, and I'm glad you said that. Look at all the times I escaped them. I mean, I've been through so many close calls. They've grabbed me, held me, like, they're searching my home. I mean, there's millions of dollars in the yard. I've got 20 grand in my underwear. I got 2 ounces of weed in my underwear and 40 grand in my shoes. They grabbed me at the airport once. I mean, I had so many clothes, and they had to release me. They didn't have nothing. They didn't search me. They patted me down. Like, had they done that, I could have had a charge. They went to my house. I had a beautiful house at the time. And it's like I escaped so many times. I slid by so many times that it's just part of the game, man.
Yeah.
But what people need to know, like, and look, I'd like to say, to all you youngsters, like, don't do this, but I have partners that made it. They did this their whole lives, never got caught. And I like to think that I was smart enough not to, but the difference between me and them is I'm not really a pacifist. If you fuck with me, I'm gonna fight, and I'm changing that with the help of like people around me, to not be so, I had issues when I got out, dude. Fuck, bro, they put me in LA, man, right in the middle of that shit, and people are disrespectful and stuff, and I had to just keep telling myself, you're not in prison, it doesn't matter who you were in there, and I was someone in there. You know what I mean? I didn't really answer to too many people.
But that's why I think you got to always look at the bigger picture too, because like you said, some people got away. There's a lot of, like you said, families that were built on different things they got away with. But you're like, okay, I got caught. So what did that mean? And then now you're recognizing, but that means I have a greater purpose on something else.
No,
so
absolutely,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely, bro. Because like I see, my life was like the movie Blow. I mean, dude. I used to rent like the whole top of the Bellagio out, man, have my partners there, man. I got married out there. And we'd be up there snorting coke, eating ecstasy. I'm blowing 20, 30,000 a weekend on hookers for all my boys, you know, like I was a maniac. Like I lived that life. I've been sitting up, heart slamming out of my chest, steam coming off me, air conditioners in the suite, up to, you know, down to 50. And I'm like, I didn't die then. Like for some reason, God kept me alive for some reason. But I believe that he spoke when he let me out on that case, that Lamont Davis, that 924C that stemmed from Johnson, you know. Like, I had someone once when I got out, like someone I knew for years, he just died, Conrad, and his mother's the sole heiress of the Zenith fortune, and we used to rip and roar together. And I got a hold of him, like, what's up, man, what's going on? He's like, how'd you get out? Like almost like questioning how I got out, bro. Like, I'm like, and I tell him all this, and I said, read it. And I hung up. I said, I'm cool, man. I said to say hello, fucking read my shit. It's an open record how I beat this case, you know. A lot of people got out on that Lamont Davis case.
Well, there's a lot of
Johnson
dudes like we
case.
talked about, like guys who actually go to the law library who were putting in the work, and those are guys getting out, and everybody else is watching TV, hanging out. So it's like, you know, there's two classes of people.
Yeah, they're worried about who Khloe Kardashian is going to fuck next, and I'm in there trying to win my case.
I've seen dudes almost stick each other over that.
Yeah,
literally,
bro.
you know, arguing over the Kardashian. I'm like, really, bro? You're tripping off of that?
Yeah.
So, you know.
And I mean, here's the thing, man. Like, I don't know, man. Like,
I commend you on having put the work in with the legal stuff, man, because to me,
one of my friends told me, I was in Lewisburg SMU, and he yells over, he goes, Alan Shelby, fucking cold monster. And I'm in the cell with Jimmy Hodge, my good friend from Arizona, and he goes, hey, man, this case, this is you, man, you qualify. But I couldn't understand it. I'm like, well, no, it's not a crime of violence. And I'm like, how can it not be a crime of violence? The fucking prosecutor's brother almost died. I mean, you know, the fuckers got shot. They said, but you didn't pull the trigger. It was conspiracy, and you can beat it on this conspiracy clause. And I did. And a lot of other people did.
Yeah.
And, but I don't take it lightly, and I don't, but you know what's crazy is there are prosecutors out there that have no heart, and she was one of them. Laugh at your family. They laughed at my mother and my wife after I got life, ha ha, smiling at her and shit. But I didn't do a fucking day for that shooting. So fuck you. You know what I mean? That's what you get for being a devil. Karma came in. The only time I did was for my weed charges. And it would have never happened had people not been so barbaric and not just had no boundaries. Like, be a prosecutor, man. Just focus on me here, you know? Don't do this to my family, man. But,
well, man, I thank you for coming on, bro. That's a hell of a story, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of comments from the people watching, the viewers, and we'll make sure to put all your social media stuff in the links. People can contact you.
all right,
you know, if you have anything going on as far as in the future, make sure you have me back on the show, but we're going to share this with as many people as possible, man, because I know this is going to resonate with a lot of people, man.
Well, and I thank you for that, and I just hope the viewers see that I'm not, like, I'm the antithesis of a Wes Watson. I'm the opposite of that. So, you know, and I'm, you know, there's so much I haven't told, you know, but I have website creators, and I have people putting together my own stuff, and it'll be a privilege to share everything with you back and forth, and maybe I interview you one day. You know?
Man, I love that.
Yeah, man, and but yeah, I appreciate you. My respects to you.
Thank you. And there you have it, you guys. Big Herc 916, fresh out with Dago Mark.
Peace.
Like, subscribe, share.